What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of Football and Random Things. I'm Connor Ferguson, Jeff Woody, Colin Newell with me, as always. And before we get started here, got to tell you about Wiffles Hybrids, the greatest independent company on the planet, focused solely and intensely on corn. There's not a better hybrid solution out there for you. How's that?
That's well done.
It's a little short, but I didn't have to. I only had 5 minutes of prep time because you texted me and said you were going to be 5 minutes late.
Yeah, it was well done. If I'm Wiffles Hybrids, I'm
ecstatic.
Ecstatic.
Yeah.
Thrilled.
Wiffles, tell Chris I need a raise. How about that? We'll work together here, okay?
How about the Cyclones?
Oh, man.
Winning's fun.
Winning is fun. That offensive line,
Boy,
running the rock.
we got 214 yards. Is that what it was?
Don't even need football pants to beat TCU. Thought that was the best look of the whole weekend.
Buck naked from the waist down.
Keeping the quarterback clean again, no sacks, running for 214 yards, owning the line of scrimmage. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the violence that we've all been looking for a little bit. And young Black out there,
he's got a little toot to him.
He was finishing some dudes, set the tempo early on, and I mean, it was great to see that line of scrimmage be moved back and TCU's defense getting moved back and Iowa State's O-line kind of taking it to them and produced some great big runs. And Abu Sama's 55-yarder, I mean, you can't beat that, can you?
Go Rams.
Yeah.
But
Sally Spolk.
And the nice thing is this is the first game that teams have had to game plan for Iowa State's passing offense. Because Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, if you're Oklahoma, you look at the 3 or 4 prior games and there's Oklahoma State, and you're like, okay, well, maybe that's probably what we're going to get. We're not super sure. And then you look at the games before that, and you're like, well, that's Ohio. Well, that's not a great indicator of success. And they're going to run the ball on tight ends. And you look at Iowa, it's like, oh, they're going to run the ball on tight ends. So the 3 previous games, you only have one where Iowa State's throwing the ball. So if you're Oklahoma, you prepare sort of like 50-50. Well, against Oklahoma, Iowa State has, especially in the first half, and again, it's a young team playing on the road. In the second half against Oklahoma, it's sort of like I said it before, they're trying to score 20-point touchdowns. You can sort of discount that. So the majority of the game against Oklahoma State, throw it for 350 yards. Against Oklahoma, they have these huge passing plays. So TCU, this is the first time that a team has had to prepare against Iowa State for the fact that they have a competent passing offense. Look at how much space there was for the running backs. Look at how many less safeties are playing down at 5 yards because of how much they're able to throw. Like, this is the truer picture to me of what the offense is and is going to be than what we saw in the first 3 or 4 games, now that it's had a chance to morph a little bit. So, man, offensive line play, much easier to do when you have less people to block.
And I mean, Coach Schillhouse, he's settling in a little bit now. You know what I mean? We saw his offense. There's big plays all over the place, and he's able to systematically move the ball around. He's able to change formations. I mean, how many times did we see 3 guys come in, 3 guys go out, changing that personnel to make the defense react? And I just think it's awesome to see the success he's starting to have, because he's a great dude, and he's just one of the great young minds in college football, and I really do believe that. But man, oh man, seeing Eli 1 yard short of a 100-yard rushing game. I mean,
just give it to him, man.
We need to feed him one more. Come on, Coach.
Just one more,
right?
But look, if you're an Iowa State fan, the hits are always going to keep on coming. If that's the hit from that game that we got to take, that he couldn't get to 100 yards, we'll take it.
Yeah, that's the downside, is that Iowa State runs for 214 and one guy is just not. It's just the fact that he didn't get it.
Absolutely.
So when that game was announced last year, and it was like, I don't know, in the annals of like an Iowa State.edu link, was when they announced they're going to do the Jack Trice uniforms and everything, and we're kind of like reading through it like, oh, they're doing alternate uniforms and they're playing, that team that's going to the national championship. Okay, cool. That'll be fun. We'll see what they turn out to be. I don't think it could have gone as more of a picture-perfect day throughout all day Saturday. Perfect tailgating weather, perfect game for what you wanted to see out there. And the uniforms look cool. I like your guys' better, but these ones didn't fall apart on the field. I like that about them.
Well, that and the helmets are just the cleanest helmets that Iowa State.
Those helmets are sweet.
Clean.
Do you guys want to see them like wear that as an alternate helmet regularly?
I think it'd be cool.
I think it'd be great too. It's different, the Ames.
Yeah.
It's a solid,
There's no way that guy didn't just
no research, zero.
No. I think he just misspoke.
Or
like, I think the school, like, they used to go by Ames, is I think what he was trying to say. I think he misread a teleprompter.
Well,
Well,
Now
don't
it
do
lives
that.
It's in the internet. Now it lives forever.
Because you got to go to an amount of Googling to find. I guess Ames was in the help. I don't know. Who knows? I don't like claiming a guy worked hard or didn't prepare, but no. But the actual game, like in my column about this on Saturday, was all about it. Was last year Iowa State would drive down the field, show that they can move the ball really well against the defense, throw a bad interception, and now your backs are against the wall again. That's what TCU did this week. And like the struggles Iowa State had that other teams would force them into making mistakes, Iowa State did that to TCU. And I thought it was, if you watch every Iowa State game, you've been waiting, not 18, well, probably somewhere around 18 games to see Iowa State do that to a different team rather than have it be done to them. And they haven't really done that to a team since Purdy and Brees Hall's senior year. And I thought, you know, if you're an Iowa State fan looking for the process, like that's exactly what you wanted to see.
Yeah, I think it was great just to see the 4 turnovers. I mean, when you talk about football and you can win the turnover battle that significantly, then you do run the ball, and then you do, you know what I mean? Like, score is 14-27, but I mean, we can ultimately say that that felt a lot bigger of a gap there than that. That was a lot more convincing of a win than a 14-27 win, and that's something that's exciting. You know, missed field goal, long field goal, but other than that, everything special teams wise felt pretty solid. Everything throughout the whole game really felt like Iowa State was in control.
Yeah, the only time when that wasn't true, at least like early in the game, TCU had a few. I mean, their first drives were 33 yards, 63 yards, 19 yards, and 78 yards. So like right away, their first 4 drives, they moved the ball down the field, but that also ended in interception, turnover on downs, and then they finally scored a touchdown in the third drive. Or in the fourth drive, but the first part of the game, it was sort of like, oh, all right, the TCU. I mean, Morris is going to make some plays. Imani Bailey that dude's going to play in the league, solid player. So like the first part of the game, it was sort of like, all right, Iowa State's defense, they're still reeling a little bit, trying to figure it out. And then from that point forward, how the drives ended, it was a 4-yard drive punt, 4-yard drive punt, 9-yard drive punt, -3-yard drive punt, 37-yard interception. 56 yards on downs, 35 yards interception. So like after the first 3 or 4 drives, the professor's gambit kicked in, which is, you know, the term that Jared and I would use when we talked about how Iowa State will play fairly vanilla for the first couple drives to see how the opponent's going to attack them, and then crank the ratchet on whatever you want to do and then turn it off. So yeah, after those first 3 drives, TCU didn't do a damn thing, and Iowa State was able to just consistently move the ball. So yeah, as far as the completeness of game, running game worked. Passing game was as efficient as it needed to be. Defense worked. I mean, 4 turnovers plus a blocked punt on top of that. There's TCU had 12 drives. They had 2 turnover on downs. So if you add those as turnovers, 7 of their drives ended in turnovers of turnover on downs, blocked punt, 4 interceptions. Like that is a hell of a way to just slam the door on every one of the drives that TCU had.
And I think you got to give some sort of shout out to John Haycock for adjusting after TCU loses Chandler Morris, their starting quarterback. You kind of spend the whole halftime making adjustments to attack him in the second half, and all of a sudden you're facing a guy that no one had really heard of. You have no real clue who the guy was.
I feel like just consistently Coach Haycock goes out there and wow, what he does to a team in the second half. Like you kind of like you said, he's a little vanilla early on, settles in, and then like once he figures out his one thing, I feel like there's not many better in the game of calling a defense to say like, hey, I know exactly what you want to do, and I drew up the perfect play for it consistently. As far as like teams being able to score in the second half, like it doesn't happen all that often. I mean, what did Oklahoma put up 10 points in the second half? It's a high-flying offense that put up 40 in the first half, and then all of a sudden, like Coach Haycock gets a little bit of time to talk with his coaches and make a little bit of adjustment. And I just he shuts teams down consistently in the second half.
And the thing that to me, the 2 things that happened, I guess I haven't watched. You know, it's way years to watch game film to have an idea of what's going on. But the 2 things they did, where one was more of like an emotional thing, where like tackling was pretty bad in the first quarter and a half. And then they got like a pretty solid ass chewing to be like, hey, do better. Because tackling, if you're getting there, that's not a scheme thing. That's like, do you have the right attitude? Is your brain ready to tackle? And so that's sort of like getting an ass chewing to get them tackling better. And the second thing is the most of the plays that hurt Iowa State outside of missed tackles were street ball plays. Like it was straight just Chandler Morris busting 2 tackles in the backfield, running around, throw a touchdown, run around, get a first down. And so they started spying more aggressively. And as soon as he would break the pocket, they essentially gave him the Mahomes treatment. Because when Iowa State kicked the shit, when you guys kicked the shit out of Patrick Mahomes, that's what you guys did. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Mike Rose or Orion, somebody was playing just a hard spy, where playing over the ball, and as soon as the quarterback breaks the pocket, you're running right at his upfield shoulder. Because if you're running at his upfield shoulder, he's either going to throw it or he's going to try and take it down and run. And if you're taking down to run, and at that point you have the rest of the cavalry come to stop him, then street ball can't happen, or it's much more difficult for street ball to happen, versus if you only rush 3 and drop 8 and you don't spy anything, or you're playing man all over the place, he can run around for 15 seconds and find somebody that's open. So they forced the issue on Morris a lot more than I think they did in the first little bit, and they tackled better. Like those 2 things, I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff, but those are the 2 main things that Haycock switched that made it so they couldn't street ball their way down the field. And then once you get tackling tightened up, I mean, I think TCU had 43 yards in the third quarter.
Wow.
Not great, Bob.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like it. I love how we started with defense. I feel like most podcasts always go straight into what the offensive productivity is. But great running game on Saturday, right? Something we've kind of been wanting to see for a while. Do you guys remember that we're 6 games in the season, and Jake Remsburg, I think, is eligible on Saturday?
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Going to be exciting for him, exciting for Iowa State. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Obviously, the offensive line went out and played a really good game against TCU. My gut would tell me that he's probably going to get some sort of action and see what he can do and see where he's at. But clearly, that offensive line is starting to mesh pretty well. But you just got to think a guy that's played a lot of football like that's at some point gonna find a way to crack the lineup at some point.
Yeah. Do you think he's gonna come in at? My guess is left tackle. Do you think that's where he's gonna probably be?
Come on,
your
Colin,
guess is good as mine.
Colin, you're supposed to have
I
all
would
the answers.
say yeah, but I don't know that. I don't know. I haven't heard anything on that.
Do you think the way that, and I know you didn't play under him, but do you think the way that Clanton coaches, that it's still easy to plug and replace an offensive lineman, or is there a lot of chemistry that goes into being in that starting 5?
I mean, I think we've seen some plug and play a little bit this year.
Right.
Already.
I'm not trying to say we haven't either.
Yeah, at the right guard, left guard spot a little bit too when Hufford's moved around. But no, I think that he's going to prepare everyone. I mean, it's a consistently thing that you had at Campbell. Like, hey, we're going to play the best players and play them how we need to play them. So certainly there is a little bit of continuity that would go there and guys playing together and making everything work out. But Jake's played enough football. Those guys, Hufford and Jake, if he goes in at left tackle, Hufford and Jake had played next to each other before, and both guys who've played a lot of football. So I wouldn't think it would be a huge deal, but I mean, I guess we're gonna have to see on Saturday.
I'm also interested to see, especially because Remsburg missed pretty much all of last year, didn't he?
Yeah,
because he had a broken hand.
He's battled the injury bug pretty bad.
So I'm gonna guess that they're probably not gonna. So Remsburg being eligible, you have game bye week Baylor. I'm gonna guess he's gonna see 20 snaps this week because he's been off for like 18 months. Like, dude hasn't played a game in a year and a half. So you're not gonna be like, all right, offensive line who had their best game of the year, we're firing a guy. Pick anyone. We're firing a guy to put a guy who hasn't played in 2 years. So like that's a disservice to both the offensive line that's there and also to Remsburg, because he's not going to perform as well this week as he will in week 10, because he's even if he. So I heard, I don't know how. Like, I think he's shaken up a little bit, but like just on a practicing. I don't know. Something happened. Might not be.
What are you reporting here, Jeff?
No, nothing. But so he's going to play, but you're still even if he was 100% just dead, fully healthy, he's just chomping at the bit to go, putting a guy in for like 75 snaps in a new offense on the road is a little bit of a disservice to that guy who hasn't played in a while. So I'm going to guess they'll probably run out their same starting 5. Then once you get an idea on game flow, then you put in Remsburg for a drive or two, or alternate drives for a little bit with him at left tackle. And then, so you go Remsburg at left and then across the way. And then the next drive, you put Remsburg at right tackle and give Miller a break and then whatever. I doubt he's going to play guard. My guess is that he wouldn't, but maybe. But like, I would guess he's going to play in spots. And if I'm coaching and trying to get him back in the flow, I have him play 20 to 30 snaps, give him the bye week to watch the film, understand what went on, see how everything feels, and then assess for Baylor were those good snaps or those bad snaps. If he just balled out on those 20 to 30 snaps, then you're going to give him the lion's share come Baylor with whomever. But if it was a little bit rough and still rusty, then maybe you take that from 20 snaps to 35 snaps. And then by the time the next game, like Kansas rolls around, you're like, all right, he's ready to go for 4 weeks from now. So it's not like he's this white knight that's going to come in, plop him down, and everything's going to be great. Like he still does have to get back in game shape.
He's a West Des Moines Valley athlete. So you can basically rely
Almost
on him
as
for
good,
anything. Just
almost
so you
as
know.
good as the east side of the east side.
Unbelievable.
And he's a prideful dude. He loves the Cyclones. So, you know, he's going to come out there, be ready. Senior season, like, you know, had to deal with a lot. I'm sure he's got some built up emotions that are ready to come out, ready to come out and play football again. So
I would say too, the last 6 games on the schedule, I think the next, like, for him to come back and ease his way into this rotation, this is the exact right, like, opponent's bye week placement, everything that you would want at this moment in the year is set up pretty well for Iowa State.
So it's Cincinnati bye week, at Baylor, at home against Kansas, and then is it
at BYU,
then home against Texas,
and then
finish
K-State.
at Kansas State. So
we memorized the schedule, boys. Only took us 6 weeks. We
and
got
you
it
guys
down.
did it really well. I was just pulled it up to look at it and spot on.
I just remember because my grandpa's from Topeka, Kansas, so he might come back up for the Kansas game. So I have that one. I know where that one's coming from, and then the Texas game is at some point in there. So I don't know. This is. Does it change your expectation based on how Iowa State's played? Obviously against
trying to
TCU.
ask from Oklahoma to TCU?
From Oklahoma from basically from Ohio to now.
Well, yeah,
does that
absolutely.
change your expectation, especially in light of the TCU game, what the back half of the season can or will be?
Absolutely.
I would say from Oklahoma to TCU, that changed my expectations. You had to win that game if you really want to expect to go to a bowl game. You had to win that TCU game, and you have to go out and beat Cincy this week.
Yeah, and I feel like the bowl game threshold to me feels low. You know, like if you get to 6, that's cool. But I think that still would feel with the amount of improvement you've seen.
Say the line, Jeff.
Huh?
Bullshit programs care about 6 and 6.
There you go.
Yeah. That's
So
a quote, by the way. I'm not cussing
I know
on the show.
that's from. I mean, it is. I swear, but but it feels like that is that standard of success. It'd be nice. You know, everyone would be happy with going to a bowl game. But it feels like, especially with the how the Big 12 has played, that you look at Cincinnati, it is as inconsistent of a team as you can play.
Winnable game.
You look at Baylor.
Even more.
Baylor, especially as depending on what happens in the next couple weeks, Baylor might be just totally like F this.
Checked out.
Completely checked out. Then you look at Kansas at home. Kansas at home is a game. It's going to be a tough one because it's a tough one. But
Winnable game.
It's a rivalry.
What do you think that the coaching staff's going to take from last year to this year? The amount of stuff that they had to handle last year to this year, that is going to be a circled game. Then you have BYU. It's in Provo. They're a fine team, but that one feels like sort of tough because it's a hard game. I don't know where they're going to put it. Then you have at home against Texas. Texas going to be coming into a hornet's nest at that point. Are they good? Sure. But Jack Trice is going to be absolutely hopping
And
for that
hopefully
one.
it's cold because Texas boys do not like the cold.
Yeah, and then the final one would be at Kansas State, and we've seen that Kansas State is very hit or miss on what's going on. So, like, to me, you look through the back half of this year, if I said Iowa State went 4-2 in the back half of the year, you'd be like, yep, yeah, that makes sense. You know, so it doesn't feel like, 6-6, and you're like, you gotta win if you don't win this one, bowl game's gone. Like, it doesn't necessarily, to me, it doesn't feel like that. But it does feel like every game from this point from this point down the road is winnable, including Texas, because who knows what Texas is going to be. Like when you guys beat the shit out of when Brees was there, they checked out so hard, and that is a Texas thing to do. They've done that forever.
Well, and it's going to be cold. I mean, it's late in the season. They always start off the season. It seems like they start the season off hot, and then holy buckets, adversity strikes, and all these dudes who've always been the best kids on their team all of a sudden have to be punched in the face, and it's like, what is going on?
And then it doesn't matter because now you lost 2 games, and now you can't win you're not going to win the conference
12,
outright.
yeah.
And I don't care, and this is stupid.
They're going to the SEC. We're SEC football. Blah blah blah.
Like
blah.
it feels like their people could be off the train by the time Texas gets here. So it's not like all 6 games the back half of the year to me are winnable games.
And I think that this team, like how they looked on Saturday, you're like, okay, that team is definitely a team that should go out and go win a bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's like, I'm not calling Cincy a must win or anything like that, but I do think there is something to what have we seen from these Big 12 teams that like we kind of know what to think right now, but we're probably still 2 weeks away from really having a great idea of who everyone is.
Yeah. Well, and
Kansas looks really, I mean, they haven't really missed a step. They were in that Texas game late. That score looks really bad for what
well,
it
they haven't had
actually
Jalen
was.
Daniels. So
That too.
their defense is also trash. And
What's
so
wrong with him?
I think it's a back injury. And so it's like
Because he
that.
missed like first game of the season too.
Yeah, I think it's a back injury.
There was a rumor for a couple of days. I've opened the investigation book a lot this year. I closed this one because I couldn't find anything substantial on it. But there was a rumor that he heard it doing like an ad, throwing a football over the outside of the stadium.
Oh my God, that
Could
is
you
true.
imagine NIL being like the reason that like
One of the best players in the conference is out,
One of the first times Kansas has like a formidable, really good football team.
and oh boy,
that would be
That would
that would
be
not
bad.
send a make a coach very
That
happy.
could be completely fake. There was 2 big college football Twitter accounts. I can't remember the guy's name. Jim Weber, I think, was one of them. But I couldn't find anything beyond those 2 tweets. So
Wow.
what a stupid way to get hurt.
Good story if,
If
not
that is
anything
true.
else. Yeah, like
Yeah.
for a coach to fuel their fire, I'd be like, don't do NIL or whatever it is.
But the Cincinnati game, it feels like so Iowa State is 0 for on the road. They have looked really bad. I mean, the Oklahoma game they started out decent, and Oklahoma's good, but I don't think Oklahoma is 50-20 good. I think their Iowa State saw a road team and played very poorly. So they're going to need to figure out how to win on the road. These next 2 games are going to be good possible opportunities to win on the road. So then when you do get to like another Hornets nest that is going to be there, playing at Kansas State is always really hard. So figuring out how to play on the road now means that you can go to Provo and you can go to Manhattan and actually win there, because these next 2 games are going to be easier road trips, relatively speaking, than the other ones. So yeah, this is an important learning game. And if you can figure out how to win on the road here, then it bodes well for the rest of the season.
It'd also be nice if players weren't sick when we go to Ohio this time.
True. Please,
That would be
someone
nice, yeah.
wash the food.
so that wasn't.
I know it was
yeah,
it was a virus thing.
Okay.
But like, still, just wash the food.
Just
make
make
sure,
sure.
make sure everything's
Don't leave
cooked.
it to any. Yeah, don't leave it to chance.
Everything
leave it to chance.
medium well. Don't leave it anything on the rare side.
All right, so I got an exercise for Colin. You can join in too. Just imagine you're on the Cincinnati football team. Okay, so you start the year with a win over Eastern Kentucky, blowout win, FCS team, whatever.
Woo.
You beat Pittsburgh, who is 1-4. You beat them by 6 points.
Woo.
Then you're at home against Miami, Ohio, losing overtime. You take Oklahoma at home, lose by 14. And then the week after, you lose at BYU by 8 points again. Then you're on a bye week. Then Iowa State's coming to town. The best performance you've had all year was that Oklahoma game you lost by 14 points in, and you're on a 3-game losing streak going into a bye week. Nothing to celebrate for the past month. What is the morale going into this game?
These guys are just like us. You look, and they're going to find a bunch of they're going to find a bunch of mistakes, and they're going to find the film, and they're going to go, this team, are you guys scared of this? And they're going to find a mistake, and they're going to find a mistake, and they're going to find a mistake, and they're going to show footage of missing blocks and not missing tackles, and be like, if you think that you don't belong here, show mistake to try and build confidence. Say that yes, you actually do belong here. So, I would say that it is going to be one of those things that this is their first step up in the Big 12. They are on a losing streak, but I think the coach is probably trying to normalize the fact that you guys are just as good as the other team, which is true. But if Iowa State's able to come out and get like a 14-0 lead or something like that, or they have these big plays where it's like an interception or Malik Verdun decleats a dude or something like that, all that kind of stuff happens. If Iowa State's able to be that, no, you don't belong here, the little back of their mind after a 3-game losing streak, it kind of exists. So if you can tap into that, but if I'm Cincinnati, you're essentially, you guys are the same as these guys. Don't think that they're any better than you. All you have to do is execute, and if we play our game, we win the game.
Coming off a bye week is tough too, especially with 3 losses before that, because it's like, as a coach, are you grinding the dudes in the ground, being like, we got to get better, like details, basic things, fundamentals, opposed to like, hey, we're not going to game plan for an entire week. We're going to work on our football. Or do you, hey, let's let these guys recover a little bit. Like, yeah, we're 1-3 or whatever the heck they are, and get healthy, get their body, get the energy back, everything like that. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if they're ready to go from the jump, if they had some time off, or if they really, said, hey, we're going to get back to our craft and do it. So sometimes they can spend so much time on them themselves that they forget how to game plan. So Iowa State's coming off a big win. I just hope that we keep it moving. Some young guys got a lot of playing time, and I think it'll be a great opportunity for us to go out there and say, hey, you're coming off a bye week. You guys are a little bit sluggish. Haven't played football for a week. Jump out to that big league, kind of like we talked about, and then that little bit of doubt in your back of your mind starts to creep in, and we go and cruise into Cincinnati and have a good time and come out with a win.
Yeah, and I do one more thing from the game on Saturday. Steve O'Klotz is flying around.
He's finally healthy.
Yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout out. He looked fast.
Yeah, he's always. I mean, fullbacks are fast. By comparison, we have to run
You
next.
always throw me under the bus. Like I'm going after all of the fullbacks.
Yeah, you are. So people think like, oh, that fullback can run a little bit. Yeah,
because he's normally seen him in space. He's running a ton of routes like he did.
Yeah, you're normally running 6 yards and running into somebody, or you're running sprints with the running backs that are like $185. You're like, yeah, of course I'm going to look slower than the guy who's 185 pounds. But just put me next to the linebackers, and I'm going to run even with or ahead of the linebackers, or put me with the DNs, and I'm going to smoke the DNs. Give me a fair shake of comparison that's not against a tailback that's James White running 4.4, who's like, or 4.5, who's 5'9" and $190. Like
that video
don't
game.
Be shocked.
That video game did you dirty because I was using
a
every
92
running
speed.
back on Iowa State that wasn't you.
I was a 92 speed on that game.
Really?
Totally overrated. Completely overrated
On
speed.
12 or 11.
The most recent. I don't know what the most whatever. The
Oh,
one
that was 14. That was way. I'm thinking of a different game. Honestly, I should have referenced 14.
That was that was way overrated. I was not 92 speed.
Georgia State's my team on.
I would say
14.
I would feel like I would give myself like an 81 speed, 81, 82 speed if I was going to give myself video game speed.
81 or 82.
Yeah.
What's your ball
Which one?
security?
Top
99.
notch. Top notch.
Right?
Yeah.
Only 100 in the game is Jeff Woody because that one play.
No, this is Steve-O's playing well. It was funny, like early in the season, I don't remember which game it was. It wasn't Oklahoma State? I don't know. Anyway, one of the home games, he goes to block somebody. It was just kind of a kick out block on a DN, and he kind of shakes his shoulder out walking on the sideline. And then the next play he comes in, he's kind of holding it up by his chest. And like you can tell his shoulder was bothering him. And I'm sure it still does, but it's better than it was. And if you can't use one of your arms blocking, Colin, how's that going to go?
It's pretty tough.
Yeah. So like him being able to be back healthy, I think Tyler Moore, it was also.
Yeah, he had a couple really nice blocks. I saw him finishing a couple blocks.
Yeah.
I was going to mention something about that that was probably the most physical game I've noticed him have.
Yeah. So he's playing well. I think Easton Dean, that's the best that Easton Dean's blocked in a long time. So like the tight ends, they're figuring out which guys are going to be physical. I think Bramer also threw it around a little bit. I mean, he's still kind of a toothpick in there as far as like blocking, but he's 240, 245. Put a shoulder into somebody on that Sama touchdown. I think it's because the defense saw 18 in there and didn't think that this guy's going to lead block, and so they didn't expect it. And then all of a sudden he did, and they're like, "Oh shit, this guy's throwing it up in there." So I
gave up a 55-yard touchdown.
Yeah, there you go. So I think the tight ends blocked really well. Easton Dean, I think, had his best game as a Cyclone, as a tight end. Like he finally played. He's fully made the switch from quarterback to tight end. It just took like 4 years to happen.
Right. And then one more guy, Bo Freeler, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. 11 tackles. That hasn't been talked about enough. 1 pass breakup, 2 interceptions. What a game from him.
I feel like he just makes plays consistently. Like
I think
he's a dude that like you could tell like in the post game video Iowa State put out, like he was the dude bringing the dudes up, like rallying them around him, and he's just been consistent since the time he got to Iowa State, and has made some big plays, take some bumps and bruises, but he's learned from it and kind of formed himself into this guy that's going to lead that defense. And when you go out there and you get 2 picks as kind of that guy, and then you have a great game, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week, that's something that you can rally around and support that dude for sure.
He has some leadership traits, but I think also you see him. What game was it? What game did he have a interception in? The other game.
Oklahoma State.
Was it okay?
Yep.
So you see him, I think he had a mistake on one of those plays that OSU might have scored a touchdown on. I don't want to say that for sure, but you see him screw up one drive, and he comes out the next drive, and he goes and he gets that interception. And I've played a ton of hockey with guys that if they screw up, they go into a 5th gear where they're pissed and they got to go make up for the team. And Bo Freeler reminds me of a guy like that. And I know it's a lot harder to do on a college football field than it is playing ice or roller hockey growing up, right? But he reminds me of one of those guys that just fifth gear hits it. I got to go make up for this mistake.
Yeah, I also think we should. I mean, Malik Verdon, like we've talked about it till we're blue in the face.
Yeah, Chris has done enough of
The
the Malik Verdon tour this week.
I would
too.
also like to say that,
and it's well deserved.
I feel like I was first one on the Malik Verdon train. I mean,
Oh, you're claiming that? You're
yeah,
gonna have
100%.
We got to get Chris in here to
check the
have a
receipt.
debate.
Check the receipts. Check the receipts, Aiden.
I just want to say I had a class with him 2 years ago, so I was on the hype train.
But no, so I think the defense functions different when he's in there because of his physicality. That like there is, I mean, we brought it up on Kicking It, which is going to come out tomorrow. But there was one play, excuse me, Iowa State's or TCU's going towards the south end zone. Imani Bailey pops one out the right side. Malik Verdon gets him down. It's a 9-yard gain or something like that. But last week in games that he's not been in there, that's a touchdown. It doesn't matter who's in there for him. That's a touchdown. But him being in there allows the physicality of like it allows the Iowa State defense to keep the safeties as primary tacklers. And then Jeremiah Cooper doesn't have to be. He can be. But Jeremiah Cooper covers like a corner. And so you can put him in positions where he doesn't have to be in run fit, and it lets him be a little freer, lets TJ Tampa be a little bit more in coverage, doesn't feel like he has to play as much in the run. Like everything is better when Verdon is in there and executing. And he still is kind of getting himself back in game shape. You saw him tap himself out a couple times because he's trying to come off a muscle strain. But like with that dude in there, it allows everybody else to play freer and better.
Watching Jeremiah Cooper run full speed and make an open field tackle is one of the most satisfying things. Like he runs full speed and takes those people's ankles out and like plays done. Like he flies around.
And I do want to ask you, Jeff, how important is it when a player taps himself out of the game, coming off of an injury, getting back into the swing of things? How important is it to be self-aware enough to know when you need a break and when?
Well, it depends on the injury. That like if it's a soft tissue injury, which is what Verdon was coming off of, it's very important because like those things you could be good. One play too many, boom. And so when you start feeling fatigue, understanding when to get yourself out. Like Gary did the same thing. Like Gary Vaughn was, I don't know if his is soft tissue, but he has something with his shoulder. And he also tapped himself out a couple times, recognizing that like, hey, if I stay in here, two things for himself, it's potentially going to put him in a situation where he's going to get hurt. But also if I'm not able to go full speed and I do get hurt, then I'm hurting the team. Mm-hmm. So it is better to get somebody in here for me than somebody else versus like, I'm going in there and I'm going to, limping around. You got an arm hanging off. You can't really see and you're running at 2 miles an hour. Yeah, you're tough for being out there, but it's detrimental to the team. So the self-awareness of being able to say, hey, I got to get somebody else in here for me. Like it's an important thing for his own recovery and the rest of the defense to be on track.
Yeah,
for sure. Colin, your buddy had a pretty good game on Sunday Night Football.
Brock, yeah, he balled out. Brees did do. I mean, you look around and Iowa State's kind of I saw some tweet or something like that, and it was like a picture of Brock handing off to Brees, and it's like crazy to think that these two dudes played together in college. Like, yeah, they were pretty special.
I think they're both up in the running for close to. I mean, obviously Brock is going to be higher than Brees is because of position and the stats that Brock is putting up.
Comeback players of the year.
Yeah, I think either one's gonna be a comeback player of the year.
You can.
I mean, Brock
comeback player.
Brock might be the
let him
MVP,
share.
and Brees might have to just settle for
comeback
player
player
of the year.
Right?
I sent out a tweet Sunday because a lot of people last week were calling Brock the check down merchant, and I said I can't wait. I can't wait to see these same tweets. Like he'll be hoisting up an MVP trophy, and the old guys in the room are gonna be like, "This award means nothing these days. There's no integrity to this." They gave it to a system quarterback, and
yeah,
it's
every
funny.
quarterback's a system quarterback.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Like that's why these big
Tom Brady is like the ultimate system quarterback.
Right? You just build a system around that guy. Then okay, how many Super Bowls did Jimmy win? Like how many games did Trey Lance win? But Kyle Shanahan's been coaching for a long time. Jimmy got him to the Super Bowl. Didn't necessarily win every single game throughout the year. Like this. You have to have a guy that fits, and then you have to coach that guy once he does fit in the system. So, yeah, every quarterback's a system quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa, system quarterback. Patrick Mahomes right now is struggling a little bit per Patrick Mahomes standards because the system's not working for him. All right, system quarterback, Patrick Mahomes.
Well, their system, they just pay the refs.
9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Not bad.
Leading a team. Like, you come out and see Trent Williams come out and say, like, this dude's the key to our locker room and saying how much of a stud he is. Like, there's a reason he has a C on his chest. Like, he just goes out there, he balls out, he takes care of business, doesn't get himself into trouble, works harder than everyone. I mean, yeah, every system would love to have a quarterback that was like that.
I also saw there was a statistic which was has a perfect passer rating, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions on passes over 10 yards this year. Perfect. 158.3 perfect passer rating.
How about the fact that they picked up the first down, deep ball down late in the game or later in the game, and then they get a holding penalty, and then they convert again, another deep ball right down the middle. Like, it doesn't matter. He doesn't get phased. He throws the ball.
There's one of those
target.
balls he threw right over safety. It was some sort of defensive back, and just right over his
Perfect.
outstretched arms. Yeah, in that behind the line view, or is that the all 22 view? I don't know what it's really called, but it looked really just cool how it actually got there and looked perfect. Looked with ease.
And
too.
personality wise, is that like, I know it wouldn't surprise you, but as far as like unflappability, it feels like that's sort of just his kind of personality where, like, if you were to put him in a room with a group of 6th graders or a room with a group of NFL guys, it doesn't seem like Brock's going to be all that different.
No,
I don't think
like,
he's going to get intimidated by the 6th graders for sure.
he knows who he is. Like, he's comfortable being who he is. Like, he's a good dude. Like, there's nothing to worry about. Care about other people, and you know, like, I honestly, I feel like it says a lot when Trent Williams comes out and says, like, there's a reason that dude has a C on his chest. Like, he controls the locker room. He has say. People like him. Like, you never hear anybody saying anything bad about Brock. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then I want you guys to pay attention next time he's playing, because every time the camera goes to Brock Purdy, it goes into slow motion, like they know he's about to do it, and he just does this little head waggle thing, and it looks so cool. Like, you cannot look cooler than that.
I guess I haven't paid attention.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just look for it next time. It'll go to slow motion.
Is it after he?
It's after he makes a big play. He'll do a little Tiger Woods fist
Oh
pump.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, he's
Little
kind of
bobblehead.
looking up, kind of shouting whatever. Yeah, let's go or whatever. He's got his head bobbling back and
Does
forth.
he talk trash at all?
He would say some stuff, but he want to go out there and win.
I figured.
Brees Hall though, 22
talks-
carries, 177
Oh, okay.
yards.
I thought we were just
No.
going into trash talk.
Trash to Brees.
No, I was just gonna talk about that. I mean, like, holy crap, Brees looked like he was in college again, going for
He's had
177
rushes
yards,
of over
72
30 yards like 6-7 games in a row.
Well, it's finally nice to see him off the pitch count, and like, Delvin Cook's all-pro running back, but like,
Brees
Brees
is
Hall
the
right
dude.
now, like,
He's a dude.
it was so frustrating seeing like Delvin Cook 7 carries, Brees 6 carries, Delvin Cook 8 carries, Brees 9. It's like these dudes are not on the same level right now. Like, give Brees the ball and let him cook.
And that, especially if you got a guy like Zach Wilson who has been playing better over the last couple weeks, but like, how much easier is a quarterback's job when you can just turn around, give it to 20, and he's going to get you 9?
I feel like it's a
second
little-
and
yeah.
1 because you just give it to 20 and let him do something.
It's backwards thinking because you don't want to risk your other star players once that quarterback gets hurt in the first game.
But you have to.
Exactly.
You have to. There's no
They
other way.
want to win football games. Like, that team is built to hope that Aaron Rodgers, potentially still crazy, can come back this season, and they have
Have
to
you
be
done
able
any
to-
more research on that?
No.
Okay.
They have to be in a position where they can make the playoffs and let Aaron get healthy and come back for that to even be a possibility. Okay, what's that going to take to do that? Your best players have to be your best players. One of them's down. Okay, well, hey, we got to lean on another one a little bit more. So
Well, and I think the other, just generally the other Iowa Staters in the room, it is better. Brees is sort of the ticket for Will McDonald getting run, because the reason why they drafted Will is fine against the run, but he's the best pass rusher that you could possibly find. Well, if you're down by 2 touchdowns, the other team isn't going to be slinging it around. The whole point of drafting Will McDonald was the fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the team, and you got Brees Hall, and you have Alan Lazard and Garrett Wilson, and you have this offense and 2 tight ends with Conklin and Uzoma, and you got this crazy offense, and you're going to be up by 17 points going into the third quarter. Hey, Will,
pass rush.
go get them, buddy. Well, they haven't been able to play that game because they haven't had enough offense to get a lead, to get Will to get loose, which is why they would give him a healthy scratch, I think, in a couple games, just because they're playing from behind. So there's no reason. You need to hold a guy that's a better run game defender. That's what you're going to call that person up for. Well, if Brees is able to do that, like he did against the Broncos, and then Zach Wilson's able to play off play action, and they have to keep an extra safety down, and that means he can just not have to read anything, be like, hey, when 17 with Garrett Wilson gets a one-on-one, Zach, throw it to that guy.
Huck it up.
Just throw it up. Or Alan Lazard gets a one-on-one against a 5'10 corner. Just throw it up. That's all you got to do. You don't have to read anything. And then you have a lead. Then do that for a couple games. And then they can finally be like, all right, let's trust the fact that we're going to get a lead in this game. We're going to pound the ball with the 4 running backs we have led by Breece Hall. And then Will can go sack the quarterback. Like, in order for Will to play well, Breece and the offense have to play well. So, like, everything has to tie together. When Rodgers got hurt, it kind of got screwed, but Breece can sort of be the key to get it back to not having the Jets season completely fall apart, the New York Cyclones.
Absolutely. And then as far as Iowa State players in the NFL, David Montgomery with another great game for the Lions. And
because you blocked for David, didn't you?
Yeah. It's cool to see his success. Like,
he seems like he's the toughest dude on the field.
Oh, yeah. He worked harder than everyone. But it's just crazy to see, like, he was so underutilized and poorly utilized by a poor franchise in the Bears, in my opinion. Like, still seeing them struggle. And just, like, seeing him to be able to go out there and be valued. Like, they got another good running back behind him in
Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah. And, like, going out there, and, I mean, how many touchdowns does he have this year?
In 4 games, he has 88 carries, at least 1 touchdown in every game, and that's 6 on the season.
Yeah. I mean, like, you can't ask for more for production out of a running
And
back.
he missed a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, he missed a week.
Yeah.
So he would have more.
Yeah.
But I mean, Montgomery, and the thing is like, that's such a perfect cultural fit.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because it feels like the Campbell or the Campbell Lions are like bruised knuckles walking in at the black eye being like, hey,
we'll fight you. We're
we'll
tougher
fight
than
you again.
are.
Let's go. And like David feels like that is just a dead perfect cultural fit for it.
Absolutely.
All right. And I told everyone I would demand an apology from you, Jeff, but you owe me one.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I was completely right about the Dak Prescott in the Sunday Night Football game.
I wasn't arguing against you in that moment.
You
I
looked at
wasn't
me like a
defending.
crazy person when I said, did Dak lose his starting job?
Well, because I didn't understand what you were talking
I
about.
was saying he sucks.
No, I was saying your sarcasm needs work.
Yeah, it does. Everyone knows that.
That was more what it was. I didn't understand that you were joking because
Look,
you said
it's-
it's extremely deadpan.
It's hard enough for other people to figure out what goes on up here, and I usually can't myself. So that
No, I'm not going to give an
It's a
apology
perfect
for
storm
misunderstanding
for-
of sarcasm. I am not in any way a Dak apologist. That is not a thing I want to associate.
Are you a Dak Prescott fan?
Yeah, just huge Dak Prescott. As a person, I will say, very big fan of Dak the person. Dak, the guy on the field, leaves me, I would say, frustrated as a general football fan, because it
Makes a lot of money.
sometimes good and sometimes bad. And
what
yeah,
if I
you're
told
making a
you?
lot of money?
What if I told you his favorite color is gray?
I don't care.
That screams psychopath to me as a
Why does
person.
that scream psychopath?
Gray? Who's picking gray? What's your favorite color?
Orange?
See, not gray.
Is
Colin?
Dak's favorite color gray?
He said that on Pardon My Take. They were doing an interview with him and just really giving him crap. I think they compared his name to a porn star before that, and they were out of questions for him because he wasn't entertained by it. So he just said his favorite color was gray.
Huh.
Go listen to that sometime. It's like 7 minutes long, and he's like hanging up, and he's talking to his publicist, and he's like, "Yeah, that went awful. That was terrible." And he's on the line. They kept it all in. But I remember Dak for that interview and the 3 times he's on Sunday Night Football every year, and he just throws the game away.
One thing that Kirk Cousins said too, which not great when you're getting correlated to Kirk Cousins most of the time, is to be fair, when you're playing on a Sunday Night Football game, you are playing against another really, really good team. So like you're guaranteed to have at least some drop in performance because you're playing against the 49ers defense in San Francisco, and they're pretty friggin' good.
Yeah, they don't stink.
Dude, those linebackers that we're talking about, the Niners,
Freak.
freaks. Warner and Greenlaw, freaks. Absolute freaks. Like legitimately. I mean this in no small exaggeration. Guys like that are the reason I did not try out for the NFL.
Can I throw Bosa into the same?
Oh yeah, but I was just
conversation?
saying, like, because as a fullback, I would have to deal with them. So I got calls from the Cardinals and the Falcons on like after draft day to come try out for as a fullback for the Cardinals and Falcons. At the time, the Falcons had Sean Witherspoon, who's like those two, like Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and like I don't want to block those.
You were scouting the people you were going to block
Like,
in practice.
I don't want to be a practice squad fullback and have to block that guy all the time. And like
That
those
is-
two, they have 2 of them. There's those 2 linebackers, absolute monster for like. I don't think people understand like how much of a difference linebackers like that can make.
Well, it's
for a
no
defense.
wonder that both sides of their ball are so good because, I mean, their offense is so good because they see those dudes in practice early in the season. It's like you got to be pretty darn good to at least look halfway decent when you're going out against caliber of guys on each side of the ball that those dudes have.
Can you
It's
imagine-
unbelievable that team that they got.
Can you imagine Trent Williams versus Bosa and Eric Armstead in practice? Like how just heated that's going to get?
Oh yeah, it's got to be some good. It's got to be fun to watch.
Heat.
God, I never realized that players going to the NFL probably, especially like your attention to detail, I should have expected it. But I didn't realize like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about, extending my football career. I got to see who I'm going to block against in practice.
Also,
when
I
get
was
there.
like the ceiling that I was going to get is going to be like special teams guy, which would have been fun. So most likely what I would have been is a practice squad player. Like I feel like in today's game, the fullback is actually sort of on the way back up, but that it's like the use check style model where it's not just like straight lead blocker. That's my game. Like I was a fine blocker, but I was better as just like physical kind of, whatever, like flexible on the field. But my ceiling was like as a practice squad fullback and maybe an occasional special teams guy active roster, which is, it's a good career, but like your job security is very low and you're running into a brick wall 1,000 times a day for practice squad salary, which is not nothing, but it's like 80 to 120 grand, which is great, but it's a good salary, but not to snap your neck for. League minimum, different story. League minimum is like $500,000. Like that's something you'd go for, but like my ceiling was pretty low and I was like, all right, my neck already hurts. My back already hurts. My knees already hurt going into this thing. And then I'm going to get maybe a practice squad spot and have to run into Sean Witherspoon like 55 times a day. And no thanks. I'm good. Thanks though.
Absolutely. All right. I did 45 minutes of prep work for the show this morning, which was just scrolling on TikTok. My algorithm is all screwed up, but I did find a song from a radio station in New England about Mac Jones tapping people in the nuts. So they do this like 10th caller thing. Instead, they had someone mix this song up about how dirty of a player Mac Jones is. And the contest was call in and reference the 3 other players named in the song. And that was the contest. And the Patriots made them scrap the whole thing. They said, you're not allowed to even mention it anymore.
Goodness gracious.
I don't think Aiden can pull it up if you guys want to hear it. Okay. Yeah. Slide that in. I'll have these guys listen to it and they'll give their takes next week. This has been Football and Random Things. Cool.
Go Cyclones.
The funniest part about Mac Jones being the dirtiest player in the NFL is that all the Patriots fans tried to defend him when Sauce Gardner explained that he threw Mac to the ground because he poked him in the nuts. The video evidence makes it clear that Mac gave him a good old tap in the sack, and reports have it that a bunch of Patriots players confronted Mac after the game, saying that he needs to stop with the dirty plays. So this week, a local Boston radio station decided to make a song about Mac Jones, which featured 3 players who Mac nut tapped. Well, if you called in and remembered all 3 players, you'd get free Patriots tickets.
If you see a whiny brat quarterbacking the team, you better watch out in the pile for a nut slap. Mac Jones nut slap.
However, after the first nut slap, Mac Jones nut slap, was named, this contest magically disappeared and was replaced by whoever was the 10th caller. Because Mac is so soft that forget the fans, someone from the team put a stop to this, since anyone involved with the Patriots has to defend him no matter what.
Felger, I gotta know what happened with the ticket weasel the other day. Was that somebody over at the Patriots call you guys and shut that down?
We're not at liberty to discuss.
No comment.
No comment.